Bengals, Commanders this week coming up next on the Wincinnati podcast.
It's an exciting time to be a Bengals fan.
Welcome to the Wincinnati podcast. This podcast is brought to you by BETUS, where the games begin. I am Ace. He is Zim. Zim, finally back from Burrowhead or Arrowhead. I heard they're getting mad if we call it Burrowhead now. I heard
Oh no, not them getting mad.
They're getting mad, but you're back. So we haven't spoken to my partner Zim. So coming up today, we're gonna have him do his Bengals Chiefs review, which I'm sure all you guys are waiting to hear from Zim on his opinions from that game. We'll get into all of that. Bengals added a defensive lineman, so we're gonna talk about Lawrence Guy as well. Of course, it wouldn't be a Wincy preview show if we weren't looking at the Bengals versus the Commanders coming up on Monday Night Football. We'll talk about that. Also, with Corey Dillon going in, what that kind of means. Of course, we're going to give you guys our Wincy Play of the Week, brought to you by BetUS, so you can see what our thoughts are, what we're playing, what's hot out there on the market right now. And then, of course, we're going to give you the game plan, what the Bengals need to do to get out of this one with a W and get to their next opponent. So we'll talk about all of that coming up next. All right, partner. I talked with Jake a lot about this on Monday. We didn't hear from you, though. Bengals Nation wants to hear from you. Give me your thoughts just on the recap of the game, certain things that happened with Uno, Orlando Brown, Trey. Just give us your thoughts and your synopsis of what you saw from Sunday until now.
I appreciate you filling in and doing your thing, Jake. Shout out to Coach Jake. Y'all gotta go check them out. Check those guys out on the Bengals Pulse as well. Really dope show. They did a recap right after. So if y'all checking out Wincinnati, make sure y'all subscribe and make sure you check out the Bengals Pulse as well. Another great show on this network. For me, I did want to give people a little bit of insight of like the actual game. So, tailgate, shout out to fans of Cincy. We talked about them a lot on our show, whatever, had an awesome tailgate, good food, good drink, all you can drink. So, I'm always there. So we had all that going on. I'm going to tell you this, and this is a theory that I'm working on. I was at Arrowhead, and the loudest that they get isn't when they score touchdowns. It isn't when something cool happens. Y'all know the loudest that they get in the whole entire stadium out of everything is calls. I have a feeling not only is it sold out, but it does, like, the psychology behind it. I do think that it would influence somebody. Like, if you hear, like, you know what I mean? Like, in these bang bang situations, you hear like what is it, 80,000 people just like, what? Going crazy. I think that has influence, bro. Like, that's something that I'm working on, that I just was amazed. I've been there a couple times before. This time, I thought that there wasn't as many Bengals fans as I'm normally there with. That's another thing I wanted to say. It's just like we were in a sea of red. So I'm not a referee guy, so I'm going to stay away from the whole end of the game. But I will say that the Bengals had their chances. And the biggest play of the game to me was the Joe Burrow fumble. I think you and Jake talked about the biggest plays as well, too. For me, that Joe Burrow fumble was a killer, man. And we atoned and we got back and everything was cool, whatever. But the Gesicki drop right after that, coinciding with the Joe Burrow fumble, was major. Another big play, and I thought is kind of swept under the radar, and I don't know how people look at it, but the Yoshivas drop is a killer because if he catches that ball, I don't even think that the Chiefs get the ball back. I really don't. I think that that was at like a minute and 40 something seconds or so. I don't even think that they get the ball back to even have an opportunity to come back and do anything. So those are like some of the things. I know you've already handled it and talked about the game itself, but the Bengals had their chances. The Bengals kicked all those daggone field goals, and they don't need to kick field goals, especially on the road. Burrow did play a really damn good game. Burrow currently leads the AFC North in quarterback rating, if you just want to throw a stat out to everybody. So the rest, I think, is looking fine. Mahomes was under duress the whole entire game. I thought he never looked comfortable, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the conversation that we're going to have moving forward. A lot of people talked about this run defense, and the run defense has a caveat to it, and I think we found that out through the 2 weeks. The reason why I think, and this is just me speculating, the main reason why they didn't go over the top to go sign DJ Reader, because I think at this point they understand they're going to sell out hard to making sure your quarterbacks do not have a good day. And that is throwing the football. And for me, I watched them give up a lot of different runs. I watched Pacheco run into a lot of light boxes. That is not by surprise or mistake. They let those linebackers in this game too. They had ADG play as well. They let them clean up a lot. I know y'all saw that Logan Wilson and Pratt 16 and 12 tackles. They let them collect a lot of that up, and they are making sure that they are tied at the hip when it comes to passing the football. And that had to be the worst game that Pat Mahomes has ever played. 3 picks, 1 nullified by a penalty, which was complete BS. But that is the recipe moving forward. A lot of people will sit there and say, this rush defense is terrible. Around the league, go look. I watched the Eagles the other night give up a whole lot of yards to Bijan. I watched a lot of running backs have a lot of success around the NFL because teams are taking away the passing, cover 2 shells, and they're daring teams to run the ball. And if you can run the ball, you can win in this league. And I think Lou is making sure that teams, if they want to pass, he's like, yeah, we're going to make you run that football whether you like it or not. And that was another takeaway that I think we could talk about as we move forward to the upcoming game. But my overall stay in Kansas City actually was pretty damn good. I had fun. I took my son with me, got a chance. I know y'all saw the pictures. Me and Jamar's dad do our ritual, got up with him, Mike Hilton and his family. Shout out to them. They watch our show all the time. They were at the Fans of Cincy's tailgate as well, too. Had a good time. Nobody was really weird or nothing to me or whatever. Like, I thought that they were uptight the whole time that we were there because they didn't want to lose to the Bengals. And when it came down to it, it's a bang-bang play. I don't like the call, but the Bengals had their chances.
Nah, to me, man, I don't see any Kansas City Chiefs fans poking out their chest. That's not a victory to really hang your hat on. What do you even say if you're them? Like, what are you saying, like, that you did in that game? Like, what can you brag about?
They've been coming back talking about the Rashee Rice. Listen, that fan base.
Like, what was the bigger play and what went more viral? Cam Taylor-Britt's interception or a Rashee Rice touchdown that nobody even cares about unless you're a Chiefs fan?
If I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm coming back and saying what was more viral was the win. They do not care. They are not like sensible human beings.
That's valid. Like, that's valid. Like the win, but it's like
they don't care.
Listen to some of the podcasts out there. They don't really have much to say. It's like a lot of it is about the refs, ironically, like, like protecting themselves from the ref stuff and stuff like that. But there's nothing that you could say, I think, as a Chiefs fan. Like, that's why I think McDuffie is the flex, because there's nothing to really talk about. You can't talk about Pat Mahomes.
We took that flex away.
Second worst game ever in NFL history. You can't really, like, are you gonna flex 4th and 16? Like, I don't really understand it. And it's at your home, and it was like a game where you weren't in control. But hey, they got the dub. That's what matters to them. That's fine. I would say you this right now, though. Look me in my eyes, Chiefers, because I know y'all watching this on the live. You do not want to see us in January, and you know it. You can sit here and be cool and think that everything's cool or whatever, but you know at the end of the day, the worst person to end your three-peat is us. Is us. So don't let it happen. We're not gonna see y'all until later. Y'all got the dub. Congratulations. I'm gonna shake your hand and all of that. But when you see us later, you know what time it is. Anything else that you wanted to take from that? Orlando Brown Jr., who they told us was trash, but
Yeah.
Kingsley is out there
the
apparently
the
supposed to be
McDuff
better than him.
the McDuffie joint is crazy too because I rewatched the game and I mean 60% of the snaps he was bracketed coverage with safety over the top, linebacker help in a lot of instances, double and triple team throughout the whole damn game.
Nah, he did it
60%.
by himself, bro. That's what we were told. He
So
just
any
did
of the
it by
flexes,
himself.
it reminds me of like when they won in the AFC Championship game. You think they care about a
Yeah.
fifth down and stuff like that? Like, bro, you
No.
got to understand the mind of like a narcissist. Like they don't care. Everything is about them. If we make a stat, if we show anything Bengals related, that's why I never really been into the rivalry per se because every time that we beat them, it would be like, oh well, that wasn't the playoffs, or like it's always like
It's
that.
just crazy to me that I'm out here saying that our title is about the Commanders, and I'm still seeing Chiefs podcast still talking about the Bengals game.
Of course, bro. I'm telling you, they don't look at football. I don't believe that they watch anybody else's games. That's number one. And then they don't look at football from a normal lens. And I might be like this too if we won a bunch of championships too. But everything that they talk about is predicated or whatever is always built to set you up. Bengals fans, listen. It's always built to set you up to come back to the fact that you don't have rings and we do. No matter what the conversation is about. So you'd be like, I posed the question, what if Burrow had a game like that? Like whatever, 100.
Oh, they would be cooking us. They would
Right,
they would
but everybody knows that. Everybody knows because before the game they said Burrow's best days was behind him. All this crap that they were saying.
For sure.
But then if Burrow had a bad game, they would have been like, oh yeah, his wrist isn't good. He shouldn't be playing anymore. It would have been whatever. Instead, Chiefs fans said, yeah, well, I mean, if he played a game like that, they would be saying that, yeah, I mean, he's got 3 championships. Like if he were had the Mahomes resume, like nobody would care. They don't think rational, and so it's hard for me to talk to them about football because they don't have a rational mindset or a rational.
Telling me that Trent McDuffie is a future Hall of Famer, telling me that Rashee Rice has more of an upward trajectory than Jamar Chase. We can't talk ball. We can't talk ball at that point. Let's talk about a new guy that was added to the Bengals. Because in that game, we lost a lot of defensive linemen, defensive tackles. Bengals add a guy.
We're down 6 guys.
Lawrence guy. He's a former Patriot. He's a guy where his strengths have been his versatility, run stopping, quarterback pressure. He's recognized for his mentorship, strong presence in the locker room. A little bit long in the tooth in terms of his age. He's a little older than what the Bengals are typically going after, but it seems like this is the guy that they kind of landed on pause to try to add to the roster. So, is this a needle mover, I guess, for you? Like, in all seriousness, is this a needle mover or is this just a guy that they're just throwing in there to try to get by until they can get guys like BJ Hill and Sheldon Rankins back from these injuries that we've been hit with? And you talk about the Chris Jenkins and the McKinley Jackson. Obviously, I don't think he's a nose tackle, but what are your thoughts on them adding a guy like Lawrence?
He's kind of undersized. I think he's like 310 pounds. So he's not a zero, just another body. I think you might get 15, 20 saps. It's a lot like when we brought in Zach Kerr in for the playoffs. The Bengals are down 6 defensive linemen. Now, mind you, we're recording this September 18th. So the injury report doesn't come out till tomorrow on Thursday because of a Monday night game. So normally when we talk to y'all, the injury report is out. So it doesn't drop till tomorrow. Lawrence guy does signal to me that somebody might go on IR, and I hope I'm wrong about that. But BJ Hill and Rankins, I don't know, man. Like generally, you're not bringing in a guy like that unless they're out there. So like it has a purpose. KJ Henry, I don't know if he's going to clear waivers. I was mad that they had to take him off so that they could create the spot. I think Cedric Jackson is not on the roster or the practice squad anymore as a result either, or something too. So for me, I posted, if you guys want to see what he looks like, Lawrence Guy, I posted his pretty much his highlight reel from last year, like some of his best plays. I got about like 3-4 minutes of it on my Twitter, Zim Hude. But he's a body. You got to have somebody that's going to be able to fill in the void, play those snaps. He's 34 years old, so this is going to probably be it for him. It is what it is. You're down a lot of guys up front. If we were going up against an AFC North game coming up right now, I'd be a little bit more worried about us having all these injuries up front. And we're going to get into the game in a second, but it is something to talk about. And they are like, because guys like Cam Sample, would have came in really, really handy right now. So, you got Lawrence Guy, and he's going to play a part, but don't expect too much, Houday fans. He's a fill-in at this point. People say, why was he out there? Because he's 34 years old. He's had some good ball. He played about almost 500 snaps, I think, last year. Year before that, 400 something. So he wasn't a bench warmer. That's the same amount of cap. Super Bowl champion. It's the same amount of snaps as Zach Carter did this past year. So the utilization of him, he isn't just some dude that just randomly they picked up. He's got some real snaps under his belt.
And the Bengals did cut Henry in order to make this, but most people think that Henry's going to go back to the practice squad because they went ahead and opened up a spot there. So be interesting to see what they do there. But I want to talk to you guys about our friends at BETUS. We're throwing out the hold 125% promo. We got a new one now, 150% promo for any kind of match deposit that you guys get up to $2,000. You're going to get that with our promo code YouTube150. We're going to give you guys some of our bets later on, but make sure that you guys rock with us and rock with BETUS and place your bets today. Obviously, with there being some new things that have come out in terms of BETUS and some of these odds, especially with the Bengals going down, even though the Bengals are at 0-2 right now, they are plus 200. Some of the best odds to still win the division. Them and Baltimore are tied at plus 200. So that's something that I'm looking at that I might actually like for later on in the show when we do our Wincy play of the week. So make sure you guys head on over to BETUS. Take advantage of that 150% bonus. YouTube 150 is the code. But man, let's talk about some of these people up your way, man. Your boys from DC, the Commanders. Who are we? The Commanders. Left hand. If you guys don't know, it's an inside joke. But guys, let's talk about this game, man. Like, this is an exciting game. Number one, it's gonna be a blackout, right? We talking about Monday Night Football. Bengals on Monday Night Football. Corey Dillon, friend of the show, coming in, making sure that he's joining that Ring of Honor. That's gonna be an exciting time. What are your thoughts just like coming into the game? Let's set the table. Let's just talk about Corey Dillon, what's going on that night, Ring of Honor, the atmosphere. Are you going to be at this game? You going to this game or not? Not going to be at this game?
I was thinking about it, man. You never know. I might slide. I might slide.
Pop up on them?
I might. I've been on the road a little bit, so I don't know if it's, but I might slide.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a dope environment. I mean, obviously, you talking about Corey Dillon and Tim Crumrye going in primetime game, late night at Paycor. Fresh off the orange out. Now we talking about a blackout against the Commanders. The big thing I think that sets the table for me is I believe this is the first time that Joe Burrow is playing the Commanders since the 2020 injury, correct? Is this the first time? Hold on, I can't hear you. Are you muted?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is it. This is the first time that they played him since he tore that knee up. Yep.
So, setting the table, You got a team and the Commanders coming in 1-1. They've got a new quarterback that they're excited about in Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels has played pretty well for a rookie. He hasn't thrown any touchdowns, but he hasn't thrown any interceptions. Right now, he's got a 75% completion percentage. Right now, he's got I think he's ranked 20th according to ESPN in terms of their QPR. He's been able to do some things on the ground. So he honestly, out of all of the rookies that we've seen thus far, he's probably one of the best ones. When you talk about Bo Nix, you talk about Caleb Williams, who's really having a rough start. Jayden Daniels has kind of pretty much looked like the best one of them thus far. Lou going against this guy is going to be very interesting. I mean, looking at some of the stats that we have here, or that I have here on the Commanders, one of the biggest things for them has been their offense and having that balance on offense, right? So when I'm looking at some of these numbers for them, a lot of the time they are running the ball. So they're more of a running team, which obviously we know for the Bengals, that might not be the best news for us, being that our defense is kind of a defense that's pretty much daring people to run the ball against us, right? Like that's one of what Lou essentially wants teams to do, is to try to do that. From that standpoint, they've been more of a running team, not much of a passing team, although he did throw for, I believe, 200 yards last year. When it comes to efficiency, these guys are getting 5.4 yards per rush, 7.0 yards per pass. Third down conversion is where they have actually been pretty solid, 40.9%. Red zone, though, they've struggled. So red zone touchdowns, they have struggled 33% in the red zone. When it comes to the turnover margin, they've been pretty solid when it comes to that, 0.5 plus on that. They're getting a lot of penalties, though. 8.5 penalties per game is what we're looking at when it comes to the Commanders there.
That's a lot of penalties, bro. I heard a guy in the space say that earlier today, that they've been getting a lot of like false starts or something like that. I think I would have to look into it, like offensive wise. I think the distribution is more on that.
Yep. And so, like, we're going against a running team. The Bengals, though, on the opposite end, have been a passing team 65% of the time we're passing. Third down conversion, though, we haven't been as successful as Washington on that. Bengals right now are at 33%. However, after last week, red zone scoring is up for the Bengals at 50%. So 50% of the drives that the Bengals have been in the red zone, they're coming away with points there. When it comes to defense, it looks like teams are choosing to pass against the Commanders. 53% of the time teams are choosing to do that against that secondary. They've had some issues on our secondary. The other thing is they have not been able to get teams off of the field on third down. They're allowing 61.9% third down conversions when it comes to that for their opponents. They're also allowing 75% of the times for their opponents to score a red zone touchdown. So those are opportunities that the Bengals can take advantage of. Obviously, we know that the Bengals defense is playing really well thus far. Teams are choosing to run on the Bengals. They're 57% of the time they're trying to do that. 42% of the time they're trying to pass. It looks like from a run stopping or a run defense standpoint, the Bengals defense actually does a little bit better than the Commanders. The Commanders allow 4.6 yards per rush. Bengals allow 4.5. When it comes to the passing, the Bengals have the advantage as well. They're only allowing 5.2 yards per pass, whereas Washington is allowing 7.8. So what that tells me is you're going to be able to pass on the Commanders. You're going to be able to try to get third down conversions on the Commanders, and you're going to also be able to convert in the red zone against the Commanders. And that is something that the Bengals offense needs, right? We're talking about them finding their way in this second game with the Chiefs, figuring out a way to convert. T. Higgins might be back. This is a situation that pretty much lines up for the Bengals on what they're looking for. So with them being a 1-1 team, Bengals being an 0-2 team, there's obviously key players in this matchup that we're going to look at. What are some of the key matchups or key players in this matchup to use, Zim?
I wanted to go back to like the red zone efficiency thing. I thought that was a key point that you just made too, because I thought one of the things that the Bengals weren't doing was I had to go back and look, but I believe they were 3 for 11, I think, on third downs and last week against the Chiefs. But
Yep.
They need to get off that stride, off that right there, and be able to go in and get some points. Another thing that I was going to ask you is when you talk about their red zone efficiency or their red zone woes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to somebody, a Commanders fan earlier, and they were just like, yeah, Jayden Daniels will just run it in there. Are you fearful of Jayden Daniels, who doesn't have an NFL touchdown yet? Are you fearful of him like running like closer to the red zone area or running in this game, period?
Yeah, I would say that that's definitely a concern, right? Like anytime a player can extend the play, that's something that I don't know. Like as you said that, and I know we've talked about this. The thing that flashes in my mind is Justin Fields on like that third down when the Bengals were going against
Trey
the
Hendrickson.
Chicago Bears, and he was able to break a tackle from Trey Henderson and extend the play for the first down. I think about Jacoby Brissett, week 1, being able to make something happen on third down when everything breaks down. So, being that I know Jayden McDaniels is a pretty good athlete when it comes to running, that is something that you have to account for. And that's something that I want to see Lou game plan for. Now, I can't take the game plan that he had against Jacoby Brissett and use that as an example because Jacoby Brissett isn't the type of runner of a Lamar Jackson or the same ilk as a Jayden Daniels, Justin Fields. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays this rookie quarterback because let's face it, the Bengals' resume against rookie quarterbacks is not really that good. Like going all the way back to guys like Mike White and stuff like that. So that the threat of his legs is a legit threat, bro. It is. I'd be lying saying like, nah, I'm not worried about if he could take off and try to run it in for a touchdown because
Right.
he has the ability to.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals, like I was saying earlier, they're going to invite a lot of runs. And I think in this game, Lou might mix it up a little bit because he knows that that's probably their best bet is running the football. But at the same time, I think the scheme and everything is set up for the Bengals. I look for the Bengals to come out in this game early, have this raucous crowd going crazy. That I would even take the ball first. And I rarely say that, but I would make it so tough for the Commanders to get you want to put the Commanders in a situation where he's never been in, a very hostile environment, not like those games that he just played. This should be the most hostile one that he's played. Monday night, big spot. You want him down on the scoreboard and force the pass. The Bengals secondary currently right now is the second best secondary in the National Football League, statistic-wise or whatever. The Commanders secondary is one of the worst in the National Football League, giving up yards and what have you. So you have all these different things that you're factoring in that you're saying, I need to take advantage of that. If I'm the Bengals, I come out there, get the ball first, get them behind the chains. If dude wants to run, I don't know if y'all saw their game last week. He's second in the National Football League with quarterbacks rushing only behind Lamar Jackson. He took a big shot to the ribs. I'm pretty sure that his coaches told him, do not do that again. Do not get yourself in situations where you can get hit like that again. After he got hit like that, he only scrambled twice in that game. If they do that, and it reminds me, and I was reminded of this earlier too. Y'all remember when Joe Burrow got to the red zone and Chase Young whacked him and gave him a hit that I still remember to this day, where Burrow thought he was going to run to the goal line or whatever, and he got hit by Chase Young. And I mean, that hit was loud. This is before he tore his knee up. But a young quarterback in that environment, you could do that and you risk running yourself and getting knocked out of a game. The last time I was at a Monday night game like that was the Tua game. He tried to improvise, tried to do some stuff, and I think Lou is the king of making it look a little tricky for these guys. The Bengals of the past are not the same. Lou Anarumo against these quarterbacks, I think, does have some different things that he can hang his hat on, even though I do understand and respect your point about the rookie quarterbacks and Mike White. I remember Cooper Rush, but a lot of those guys that I think about, those are guys that were throwing the football, that were able to get the ball out quick, precise, and what have you. And to me, that's the only way to beat a Lou Anarumo scheme. The guys that wanted to run. Remember when we were about to play, what's dude that only had 9 yards at halftime? what was that dude's name? And remember, Dominique Foxworth said that he was going to have a big game, and he picked him to beat us.
In which game?
2022. It was a kid. Somebody in the comments tell me. It kind of reminds me. It kind of reminds me of that game a little bit. The guy had a really good game the week prior, and then he was a running quarterback, and we had our way with him, and he only had like 9 yards at halftime, and then Baker Mayfield coming.
I feel like I
PJ Walker
with the Panthers, right? Yeah.
So a lot of his game is similar to that. A lot of Jayden Daniels' game is very similar to Lamar. I think he could throw really, really well. He made some really big throws in that game too. So I'm not trying to say that he's less than, but there is a history that says that Lou does have where guys that want to run, he could take that away from him when you think about the Josh Allen games and different things like that. So the Bengals have to be very careful with that. But I do think that this team has to make it a point every game because the run defense and the woes up front with the defensive line right now, they must get leads because if they're in a close game with anybody, they can't consistently stop the run. You saw that on Sunday that Pacheco still was able to have some runs in that game to keep those drives alive for Pat, even though Pat had a terrible game. The run game is the one thing that they were consistently still doing, and you want to make sure that your lead is big enough so that they can't.
Yeah, for sure. So I just went ahead and pulled up some of our matchups that we might see. I'll start on the defensive side since we kind of talked about Jayden Daniels. They obviously got Brian Robinson at running back. I would expect them to try to use a heavy dose of him at running back in terms of trying to attack the Bengals. Then you start to kind of look at some of these matchups. CTB, I think, who right now on PFF is the second ranked corner, by the way, no matter what, I guess whatever you put into that. Dax Hill, by the way, 21st, and you got to think about that. There's 2 starting cornerbacks, so that lets you know how highly they think of those guys. But you're looking at Terry McLaurin, you're looking at McCaffrey's brother in the slot, you're looking at Diami Brown. You know, some people were very high on this guy, extremely high. But you're looking at those from the matchups. The offensive line, which you talked to me about earlier, interior seems to be pretty good for them. And
the interior has been playing some elite ball lately.
Yeah, you talking about Cosme, talking about some of those guys. They got a veteran in Zach Ertz. You talk about the Bengals linebackers playing at an elite level right now with Logan Wilson and Pratt. Logan Wilson currently on PFF with the 87.4 grade there. Trey Hendrickson, 13th ranked right now off of PFF as a edge rusher.
Which is insane.
Talk about him versus Lucas. That's going to be something to talk about.
I think they've been talking about the rookie Coleman is possibly starting at left tackle. So that's something to keep your eye on too. They've been rotating Lucas and Coleman. They've been talking about Coleman being the guy that might play and get the start at left tackle. I think you could see the third guy in a row get benched. three weeks in a row.
Guys moving in and out against Trey Hendrickson. So I think some of those are some of the matchups. You talk about the Bengals receivers versus that secondary, as Zim type kind of hit on earlier. You talk about the trenches, right? When it comes to that. On the flip side of things, for the Bengals offense, let's take a look at that. This defensive line on the edges is somewhat suspect, right? Because they were able to move off of Chase Young, which believe that. Think about that. Remember the Burrow and Chase Civil War? That was really the first Civil War that we had on here where people thought we were crazy for wanting to say Burrow over Chase Young, but Chase Young no longer there. Montez Sweat no longer there. These trenches are going to be, I think, at war when it comes to that. Jamar Chase, bro. This seems like a Uno bounce back game. I heard people in the comments saying it. What are your thoughts, man? Because I'm not trying to get disrespectful because I respect the Commanders. But when I see this secondary, has some potential to be food. That's all I'm gonna say. It looks like it might be some food out of your. You know the little GIF video of Shannon Sharp going like, I got potatoes, I got chicken, I got this, I got that. Jamar Chase might be out there doing that on Monday. That's all I'm saying. No offense to them, but with them having some key injuries out there, with them having some struggles there, Jamar Chase, this could be his get right game. And then you talk about T. Higgins possibly being out there too. I don't know, bro. How you feeling?
I feel like you better than me. I respect football, right? And I understand it's any given Sunday. In this case, it's any given Monday. I don't believe that the Commanders are anywhere near on the level of the Bengals. But as you know, sometimes football doesn't go the way that you think it's going to go, just like week one. So I respect that. But there's no world. The spread on this game is like 9 points. Joe Burrow is leading the AFC North in quarterback rating. Joe Burrow, EPA per play currently right now, after they told us he was done and his wrist was cooked, is currently the second rated EPA per play quarterback in the National Football League, cooking without T. Higgins. If T. Higgins comes back in this game, you're talking about a team that is giving up the number one quarterback rating in the National Football League with the Commanders, the fifth most passing yards in the National Football League. I'm sorry, not the fifth, the eighth most passing yards per game in the National Football League, in the Commanders or whatever. Everything is setting up for the Bengals to do what Zach Taylor wants to do, throw the football. And any other week, we're like, run, whatever. The Commanders pass rush with Cleveland Farrell as the lead person that's only probably getting any bit of whatever. It's not a matchup that I think works in their favor. Orlando Brown, currently one of the best percentages in pass block win rates in the National Football League. 41 reps, 41 wins. There is nothing that I feel like the Commanders can offer us defensively that should be able to stop it. If the Bengals aren't putting up 28 plus in this game, I'm pissed. Straight up. And I don't know if that's a respect thing or what. It's just what it is. It is what it is.
At the end of the day, they in the way. That's basically what you're saying. At the end of the day, they in the way.
They in the way. And other things too. Chase Brown, I need an uptick in his carries. I need 50-50 splits with him and Zach Moss at a minimum. Burton, if T. Higgins does play, I just call him Burt now. Like, we're just going to call him Burt. But if T. Higgins does play, he has to be the fourth guy off the bench. I want Burt now returning kicks, punts, whatever the hell. Charlie Jones saw a huge reduction in his snaps last week. There is no reason for Burt not to be the fourth guy out there. And I don't want to just see go routes this week now from him too. Now that I got T. Higgins possibly back, I think that they should unleash a lot of the stuff that I think that I was drawn to Burton with. He can run deep crossers, he can run outs, and he can run drags. I don't know why. I was just saying take the top off before because of what we were presented. Now that you might have your full arsenal back, I need to see Burton come out there and take the top off as well as other things as well too. He should be the fourth wide receiver off the thing. We shouldn't be having conversations when we come back on this show next week talking about what the Bengals didn't do. This is a game where you get the ball first and you do not look back.
Nah, facts for sure. A couple other records that I kind of left out here. The Commanders are 5-5-1 all time against the Bengals. So this is one that might decide a long-standing record that we have against each other head to head. The Bengals are they're also 1-3-1 against the Bengals on the road. So that's something to keep in mind. And here's another thing. The Bengals and Washington hasn't played in Cincinnati since 2016. And in that game, that's where it was a tie. So if you heard the 5-5-1, that's what happened last time. Here's another thing to hear, though. The Commanders are 7-23 all time on Monday Night Football. And so that is something to just keep in mind when you talk about trends and stuff like that.
Don't you think that I don't think I'm overselling this. He hasn't played a game like the Buccaneers and the Giants is not a raucous crowd. And how these quarterbacks perform in the National Football League, I'm telling y'all see me, Ace, you see him too, people in the crowd. I've been to a lot of stadiums. Bengals on a Monday night is top 10, whatever you want, noise-wise, the crowd, everything that we do. A lot of people calling for a blackout or whatever. I really feel like the crowd noise in the crowd and the home field advantage of this particular game going against a rookie quarterback. You have to be the fans that are watching this, over 1,000 people watching this right now. You are a big part of what the Bengals need to be doing. The fans should be a big part of the game plan. How influential or how important do you think that the crowd noise is going to be, or the atmosphere? Or do you think that Jayden Daniels could step up and just say, you know what, I've been in big arenas like playing at LSU?
Crowd is definitely going to play a huge factor. And somebody in the crowd corrected me, and I appreciate that because I actually got that from the Commanders' website where they said it was a tie the last time they played in Cincinnati. But you're right. That game was in London because I remember AJ Green taking off on Josh Norman, I believe it was at the time. But yeah, Zim, as you're saying, I don't think he's ever seen a raucous crowd like that in Cincinnati. So for a rookie to be facing off in an environment like that on Monday Night Football against a really good team in the Bengals that's hungry because they lost a game that they felt like they should have won against the Chiefs, and that sees the blood in the water at 0-2 and knows what's at stake, I think it's going to be a tough environment for them to come in and do something from that perspective. But outside of that, bro, I think, like you said, this is my thing. If T. Higgins comes back, which I think he will be back, that's not inside information or nothing, guys. That's just a hunch, just an educated guess based off of what we saw last week with him working out before the game. Seems to me like he's trending towards playing. If T. Higgins is back, this is my thing. I do not want to see Trenton Irwin, I just told him this earlier, as wide receiver 4. I don't want to see that. I want to see Jamar Chase. I want to see T. Higgins, Yoshi in the slot. I want to see Chase being moved in and out of the slot. I'm fine if Burton doesn't play in the slot. I don't think you need to use him in the slot. I think his weapon is best used on the outside perimeter, right? As a receiver.
That's all he knows right now, honestly.
And if we're using Mike Gesicki and Eric All, I need to see a heavy dose of those guys as well. But I need to see Burton as wide receiver 4. I was telling them earlier, even if his role is just what Mike Thomas used to do for the Bengals, come in, run a quick go route, or run some plays as the wide receiver 4 to just catch the other team off balance, I want to see that. I do not want to see those snaps wasted on Trent Irwin. That's just me, but that's my thoughts on it. I like to see them continue to do some of the stuff that they did last week. Will be interesting to see if the Commanders try to hit them with the 2 high shell, if that's something that they're going to use going forward. But I'm with you. I need to see more Chase Brown.
They better, or you're going to see Jamar Chase running down that field on Monday night like you ain't never. It's like going to be a track meet. You better. I don't care what them Chiefers telling y'all about McDuffie. I respect McDuffie or whatever, but like, I'm not about crowning these dudes that are just good. Like, you could be good and tell people that they're good, but make no mistake about it. He has safety help. Don't play around with any of the, with this stuff. I just want to give people a quick stat on Trent Irwin because I'm going to take it a step further from what you said. I don't care if T. Higgins plays. I don't think that I think that everybody sided with these people before the season started talking about Burton. You don't know if he's in the playbook. You don't know around. You don't know. But we saw him in the preseason. We got on this show, tell everybody about it. And I ain't here to say, oh, I told you so. I'm about winning. But I will point out the fact that one thing that we do know is we don't have to speculate on what we think Burton's going to be because we saw him in the preseason and he beat out Irwin then. He beat out Charlie Jones then. That's a clear, like, he beat him out. He's a 3rd-round pick. He's not a 7th-round pick. He should have been playing. You go now and you're down 0-2. I do not want to see Trent Irwin is averaging 1.8 yards of separation per target. That is ranked 112 out of 113 qualified tight ends and wide receivers. The league averages 2.96 yards of separation per target. The only person lower in the National Football League right now, Tyler Boyd. Ain't that something? At this point, we are now at a point where I don't need to be looking back at games and saying, what if Burton was in that spot? What if Shiesty on 2nd down throws the ball on a scramble and he throws it and hits him in the face mask? I think Burton catches that. Burton doesn't really drop anything. And the only way I'm going to know is if you play him. That is the only way. And anybody that's talking about that playbook stuff and all that crap like that, I'm sorry, that's dead now. You're now 0-2. You ain't the Chiefs. You ain't got no championship. You don't got no way to be slow walking nothing. It's time to get out there and play your best players and let the best players cook. The Jordan Battle conversation is another conversation that I could bring up. But the difference is, at least I could look at Von Bell and say I'm not a defensive coordinator because I'm not Lou Anarumo. I watched Von Bell play a good damn game. Do I think Jordan Battle should get more snaps? Hell yeah. But I also trust the fact that Lou Anarumo is going to put guys in the best position to win. And that's a different situation where I can see that playing itself out. Maybe something happens, whatever. So you're not going to hear me talk about that because that's not a situation where the best player isn't playing, because Von Bell arguably is just as good, if not better. You know what I mean? We only know what we can see.
But this is not to say that Jordan Battle shouldn't get snaps, but it doesn't seem like the safety position is a dire need right now. Like, is it really like last year? Clearly, it was like we need to throw somebody else in because Nick Scott isn't it. I'm not saying that you can't throw him in there, but I don't feel like it's like we have a bleeding wound and we need Jordan Battle to be the Band-Aid because the guys in the secondary at safety aren't getting the job done. Do we really feel like that, or is it just like we just feel like he needs to play? Like, I'm just not like, if we were having breakdowns in the secondary, exactly, I could see that. Exactly. But it's like we're not having that right now. Like, I love Jordan Battle. I would love for him to play or whatever, but it's not like it's not dire. Like, the defense is really good. Like, are we all just looking at the 3rd and 16 and saying like, or the 4th and 16 and saying he should be in because of that? Or is it like week 1, like because they feel like we weren't making enough plays on the back end in the run game? I don't know. Are we forcing it? Because it doesn't seem like a Chase Brown situation where you got one guy averaging 6 yards per carry and another guy averaging 3.4. To me, it's not that. So it's like, I would love to see him play more, but to me, it's not a dire need that he plays more right now. Because like, I'm hearing people like Lou's getting questions and all of that. And typically in those situations, I could see if it was like, let's just take somebody else and give an example, right? So I got Sam Hubbard and I got Myles Murphy, right? Sam Hubbard starting, but I'm not really getting that pass rush production that Myles Murphy can potentially give me. What is it that Jordan Battle gives me that Von Bell isn't giving me right now?
Okay. So I'm gonna condense the answer. What Jordan Battle represents for me is something that I think that real good teams do, and that's like playing your young talent and maximizing the rookie contract. So the overall conversation is he's one of the highest graded PFF rookie safeties of all in the history of PFF even doing it. So I know that he's talented and I've seen it. I was just saying the conversation, I guess, with the wide receiver conversation is very different because I'm watching guys that we told people were not good. I mean, not that they weren't good, but they're not better than. Trent Irwin has value. It's just not better than Burton's value. And I think people got a chance to see that like happen. And we saw it in preseason and they just chalked it up as something it wasn't. The Jordan Battle one, that's a longer process. And I'll be patient on that one. But I do hate the fact that you got a guy that talented that's not playing as well. I just believe in Von Bell in the communication, like you're saying right now, like ain't no breakdowns or nothing like that. So it's not a big situation to me. I think a lot of people wanted to be a bigger situation because they might have like a player that they like a lot more. And it ain't nothing wrong with that because I think bro is a baller. So I think he'll get his time. The thing that pisses me off though is the fact that the Bengals are 0-2. And I could literally look at, we didn't just wait until we lost the games and say, we think Burton should be out there. You know what I'm saying? Right. we were literally saying it before this happened. We need to see X amount of snaps from this guy. Because the writing was already on the wall. And I hate to look back and say, damn, bro, I think Burton might have helped us out at week 1 to stretch the field, make it a little bit easier on on Shiesty.
And the thing that I keep seeing is a lot of people keep saying like Battle could have been in there instead of Dejan, right? But like Dejan is like a nickel corner, so is he the backup or is it Mike Hill? Like and I just hate to do that just off of one play. Like I said, I think Jordan Battle should play more, but I don't think it's the same as like a Burton for me. And I don't think it's the same as like a Chase Brown for me in terms of like what he brings to the table. So like I hope that he does play more. And I think like to only get like 1 or 2 snaps a game is crazy. Like that is kind of like wow, he at least needs to get, more than that. But that's just my thought. Cause I hear a lot of outrage from it. And I'm like, cool, but it would make more sense to me if there was just more of a struggle on the back end, if that makes sense.
Nah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we all, the Chase Brown conversation, like we're now at a point where we shouldn't be 0-2, but there's nothing we could do about that. But moving forward, I think it's very like we got to be honest. Like,
but I think we do have voices, right? I feel like a lot of people got on platforms. I feel like we kind of spearheaded that, not just us though, right? Because other people try to talk about Burton and stuff too. But somebody's listening, so I guess if we say like Jordan Battle should play more, I think they'll start to try to. I'm
gonna tell you this. This might be crazy. You know me, I'm super naive. You always be like, man, you never know who's listening. I'm gonna tell you, I think Burrow's seen this show before, bro. I'm gonna tell you, a lot of press conferences, he says a lot of stuff that directly impact different things that we said on the show. I talked about, man, the bullets are flying on the thing. He gets to the press conference, he was like, yeah, bullets are flying out there or whatever. Like he talked about in the last press conference, he said, I never not trusted Burton because that was another rumor. And he addressed that one when nobody even asked him about that. I really think he's probably clicked this podcast and seen this before. So Joe, if you're listening, you need to get on the Wincinnati just one time. It don't even it could just be like a little on the thing. We just screenshot that shit, and then that in itself, we just put that out there, Joe. So if you're hearing this, Joe, or you know somebody that knows Joe, just tell them. I'll send him a link. Just stop by. He don't even got to talk. Just give us a peace sign, and we good to go. We could go. Wincinnati gonna take off like a rocket. So that's all we need right there. I swear, I'm telling you. Pay attention to Joe. Pay attention to him at the press conferences, bro.
Joe for sure, man. Appreciate Joe for sure. If Joe is watching, man, for sure. Got a super chat here. Jamar going to eat. He's going to be stoked to have T back and get some snaps without double coverage. Excited to have the band back together. Of course, bro. Gotta have that. But it wouldn't be a Wincy show without the Wincy Player of the Week and Zim. I didn't tell you this, but we talked about this earlier, my guy. A little plus 200 for the people out there right now. Cincinnati Bengals. Me and you been talking, bro. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. I don't care if the purple people are here. You literally had a Cowboys, the Bills, and the Bengals. You could be looking at 0-5, 1-4, depending on how things go. So do you want to take the Ravens? Do you want to take that risk? I don't know if you do. Steelers, they just scored 1 touchdown in 2 games. Like, yeah, it's cool to play defense and all of that, but at the end of the day, you got to score touchdowns. At the end of the day, the Steelers have one of the toughest schedules in the NFL. It just hasn't hit yet. So shout out to them for going 2-0, but I don't think it can last. I don't. And I don't think you should think that it can last. And then the Browns, come on, bro. Are we making history this year? That's why they plus 450. The Browns have never won the AFC North. So why would you ever even put money into that? That would be insane. So you know what? Yeah, man. Let me get over to my computer, mosey on over to betus.com. Let's find this AFC North. Money line plus 200 right here. Let's do it. Plus 200. Let me put 200 on that.
0-2 Bengals got the tie for the highest odds.
0-2 Bengals. Vegas knows what time it is, man.
They know what's up. They know
Except for in Baltimore. They don't know what time it is yet. They're going to find out this week, though.
We
But
got a
right
wild
now,
chat tonight. If y'all listening to this on the podcast, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, it's a little crazy tonight, but make sure y'all subscribe to YouTube and so you can see some of the stuff because Ace is currently right now BetUS, our proud sponsor, putting in some good bets right now. AFC North, we putting our money where our mouth is. Pause.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm gonna share that joint out on Twitter at New Stripe City. Check it out. We'll have the Wincy Twitter account repost that. But as you guys can see, man, give me that plus 200 right now. Head on over to BetUS right now, guys, and then make sure you use that YouTube 150 code to get that 150 bonus. So you could put that bonus on this as well and get you something that's gonna end up paying for a ticket or something like that. You know, whatever you need down the line. Come on, guys. We know what time it is when it comes to the Bengals in the AFC North. 0-2 ain't never been anything to us. Ravens, anytime they've gone 0-2, never made the playoffs ever. So just dropping that in there. But that is going to be our Wincy play of the week, especially with it being so early in this week. You know, it's kind of hard to find some props with us playing on Monday Night Football. But I mean, I feel like it's perfect timing to take that bet as it stands right now. Moving back to it, though. Give me the game plan, Zim. What's the game plan for the Bengals to get out of here with a victory on Monday night?
I'll try to limit it just to three different things. Like I talked about it. I've kind of gave you I prefaced it, or I gave you like a little pretense game plan. But what I think is very important for the Bengals it sounds a little stupid to me, but like we need to convincingly win this game and win like pretty good. You know what I mean? Like what a nice victory or whatever by a wider margin. And I think the Bengals need to get out on teams because if they don't, the run defense and the injuries up front will be exposed because late in games, you don't want to get caught with your pants down, no diddy, trying to stop the run. In a big spot like this, it's going to be tough. So you need to get out on them dudes. And then I think that's number one. Number two, T. Higgins play. Yeah, I'm limiting his snaps a little bit because it's his first game back, but I'm going to T. Higgins early and often. Jamar Chase also in that is a two-part part. Jamar Chase has to get involved. I watched Malik Neighbors get 18 targets the other day. I need Jamar Chase to get 10 plus targets against this secondary. This is a game where Burrow needs to throw. There is no Myles Garrett running at you. There is no Max Crosby coming around the corner. You need to respect their defensive line. But if he's going to throw the ball, this is a game where he needs to throw the ball. So in my mind, those are the different things that they need to do. And the other thing is get them off the field on third down. Those are the three things that I think that they could do. And I think the Bengals easily, convincingly put points on the board and cook these boys. If they play around with them and get themselves in a rough situation where they can't stop the run in the fourth quarter, it's going to be a nervous Paycor.
Yeah, I think for me, Bengals got to obviously, once again, win the turnover battle. I think Joe Burrow's been doing a good job outside of the fumble of protecting the ball. I think that they got to get out, like you said, early on these guys, hold them down from making sure that they don't give Daniels any running lanes in this one to be able to run wild and convert and do his thing on third down. They have to convert on third down. Bengals have to do better than 33% on third down. They got to move that up, bump that up to 40 or 50 this week. If they could do that, I think they're able to get out of here with a victory. Convert in the red zone. Get 7 instead of 3s. We can't have any of that. And then, of course, penalties, man. Can't let this team in with penalties. They are a team that's going to make mistakes, so allow them to make their mistakes based on what the stats have said for them. Trey Hendrickson, man, I talked about it last week. He's going to be a key for the Bengals to get in there. And then whoever is in there at defensive tackle, it's going to have to be a committee approach. We're going to have to step up. Guys are going to have to step up and do their part to try to make sure that the Bengals are not able to just get gashed by the run consistently. So it's not only going to be the defensive tackles, linebackers are going to have to step it up. Safeties are going to have to be there with some help. It's going to have to be a group effort for them to get through this without having those guys possibly in the trenches at defensive tackle with BJ Hill and Sheldon Rankins. As we're recording this on Wednesday, we're not aware. So that's one of my keys is whoever is in there, you got to make something happen. from that standpoint. So I feel like the Commanders are going to try to come out and run the ball in this, so you got to contain that run. But I think if they can do that and control the game, talk about the time of possession, I think they're able to get out of here with a win. Obviously, you got to keep Joe Burrow clean. Don't let those guys in the interior get to him. Cordell Volson, I'm talking to you. I'm also talking to Alex Kappa as well. You guys got to protect Burrow in that pocket. We can't have any internal pressure touching the merchandise of number 9. Before we get up out of here, I want to go ahead and pull up this super chat here. Talking about some Houday. Shout out to you, bro. OW. Appreciate that. But Zim, did you have anything before we get out of here, brother?
Uno wings. I'm hungry.
Uno wings. Make sure you guys stop by 669 Justice Court with our friends over at Midwest Best Barbecue.
Uno wings, G-Funk wings, and them CTVs. Midwest Best is the place to be for curing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for curing wings. It's the X to the Zim, M to the B's. Uno wings, G-Funk wings, and them CTVs. Midwest Best is the place to be for curing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for curing wings. Say what up to Jordan Battle. We be going to battle. Intercepting balls like CTV did on Seattle. Putting 6 up on AZ. Juice gang amazing. Make sure you come get these wings, cause Zimby stay blazing. And T game be smooth as ice. Jamal making DBs fold. TB got big levels, and now you already know. It's so pretty for Uno wings. Cam got the new wings. We call them CTBs. Only at MBs. H to the Zim. M to the B's.
Man, that's a banger. 669 Justice Court, Loveland, Ohio. Make sure that you get you some Dillinator wings this week. You know what I'm saying? To commemorate the Ring of Honor. Corey Dillon's going to be there Monday night. So if you're chilling on the Sunday, you're trying to pull up, make sure you do that. But if you don't pull up, or if you just want to get something good to eat tomorrow because you're tired of the trash that you've been eating, go stop by Midwest Best Barbecue, 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. Best wings in the natty, best brisket, best pulled pork, best macaroni and cheese, best Arnold Palmer's in the city. Go in there, let them know that Ace and Zim sent you. Shout out to Tim and Nicole for all that they do. And on top of it, they're diehard Bengals fans. So make sure you guys stop in there and check them out. If you are looking to see if Midwest delivers, go to their website, MidwestBestBarbecue.com. They have all of those options available there. So make sure that you definitely check them out. But anything else that you wanted to say before we get out of here, partner?
I was going to say, man, we've been rocking on here and getting good numbers on here consistently. Make sure that if you like what we're doing and you know that we're lit on here and you understand that we're giving you the direct information about your favorite team. If you're tired of national pundits coming in with some fly-by-night stupid analysis and you're enjoying what we're talking about, please make sure you show this to somebody else. You might think that another Bengals fan is watching this and they probably might not even be doing that. Don't assume. Send them the link. Make sure that you subscribe and cut on alerts. If you're watching this on Twitter right now, the name of this is Wincinnati Podcast. It's so easy to find. Instead of Cincinnati, just put a W in front of it and we'll pop right up on your timeline or in your search engine. We need all the help that we can get. The big dogs, the big people, the powers that be, do not retweet or talk about our show. We are counting on the fans every single time, and only you make this possible. Only you are the ones that can give us a voice and be able to echo what we're saying. And some of your things that you're saying in the comment, some of the things that you guys tweet me, we're actually saying that live on the show with over 1,200 people in here right now. So we represent you guys and we appreciate you. And we need you all to go ahead and like, subscribe. After this, make sure you write comments in the comment section. I'm gonna try to answer as many of those questions as I can as well too.
And also, once again, shout out to BETUS for keeping the lights on. As we said, go make that Wincy play of the week. And thank you guys for listening to the Wincinnati.
Yeah, sure.